Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, published in 1962, inspired the modern environmental movement, which began in earnest a decade later. It is recognised as the environmental text that changed the world, and I think the following quote, 59 years ago, still rings out today. "We stand now where two roads diverge, but unlike the roads of Robert Frost's familiar poem, they are not equally fair. The road we have long been travelling is deceptively easy, a smooth superhighway on which we progress with speed, but at its end lies disaster. The other fork of the road, the one less travelled by, offers our only chance to reach a destination that assures the preservation of the earth." 19 years on from the publication of Rachel's book, Christopher Fettis formed the Green Party here in Ireland. That was 40 years ago. His vision was international, as a global movement began in earnest to protect the path Rachel refers to. For 40 years, the Green Party has campaigned for this legislation against climate deniers, naysayers, lobbyists, complacency, fear, and let's not forget the populist politicians who stand on the sideline, afraid to get on the pitch to make a decision. There is a global commitment and a growing awareness of the need for collective climate action, irrespective of what party you're affiliated to and where you stand in the political spectrum. This is very evident in the latest German poll, having the Greens leading on 28%. Climate change is the biggest threat we've ever faced, and the threat is looming, all while Ireland stands on the sidelines and ranks with the worst EU countries on climate action. However, I believe we are making progress in recognising the gravity of the crisis we are in. Most parties and members of our Parliament have opted green politics as part of their manifestos and have joined the collaborative effort to transition Ireland to a greener, fairer and sustainable state. Owing to this collective effort, I stand here today to speak to this monumental bill and tell the people of Ireland that we will no longer be climate laggards. This bill will allow us to lead on tackling climate action, no matter what administration or party is in government. The bill is a response to scientific consensus on climate change, the threat of irreversible global damage to our environment and to our security. It is a response to the natural disasters we are seeing globally, the destruction of wildlife and biodiversity. And importantly, it will protect people who are most affected by climate change, but are least equipped to adapt to its effects. I've heard this saying many times: we know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And I've witnessed farmers declaring they can earn more from organic produce with half the stock. Farmers and their families must be supported so they can earn appropriate incomes from their farms. Diversification of land use practice will make this happen. Farmers should be afforded a fair share of the profits of industrial agriculture, or at least provided fair access to the market. Evolving land use models incorporating forestry is creating carbon-smart agriculture, empowering less intense agriculture methodologies where farmers gain and industrialisation is not the drumbeat of Irish farming. Ireland has the fastest growing forestry sector in Europe, currently 10% land coverage, which had a standing start in 1923 with 1% land coverage. Our maritime climate is unique in Europe, as we can grow trees at twice the speed of our European partners, and in recent years we established our own structural grade construction timber, C16. In the main, we export this relatively new sustainable construction material to the UK to build homes. However, many farmers have already begun to diversify their land, which will see Ireland doubling its roundwood harvest over the next 20 years, increasing the existing rural workforce in this sector with sustainable employment and revenues up to €6 billion. In 2017, South Dublin County Council became the only county in Ireland to have a wood first policy, promoting the use of our own sustainable construction material. This is one of the many steps Ireland is taking to use sustainable carbon neutral materials in construction procurement. Currently, the construction sector is one of the main emitters of CO2, alongside transport, energy and agriculture. The embodied carbon of materials alone contributes 11% of global emissions. Europe is ahead of the game in setting targets for reducing embodied carbon of our construction materials. As I noted, South Dublin County Council have a wood first policy, but this is at the halfpenny place when it comes to real action. A new paradigm of construction methodology is evolving where building materials will be reused, locally sourced, maintained and measured to meet sustainable building practices to ensure that we meet our climate targets. This bill seeks to provide such targets. A just transition is at the core of Green Party policy. Climate action cannot be achieved without climate justice. Retrofitting is a vital component of the programme for government that brings families out of fuel poverty and is a great example of how we can create sustainable employment by transitioning our energy sector. Previous Green Party policies enshrined now in Part L of our building regulations has taken more people out of fuel poverty than any other policy to date. It is projected that 25,000 people will be upskilled and employed to retrofit, which will make our homes warmer, energy bills cheaper, and importantly, it will bring more families out of the fuel poverty trap. I'd like to end by thanking each and every one of those campaigners, both here in Ireland and globally, who have raised awareness of the rising challenge, who have called for more action and have held governments to account for the last 6 decades. While some have come to the climate change table very recently and may not see this bill as perfect, they should realise it is a platform to build and create from, and it brings hope. I'm sure those who condemn it will get on the pitch in the future to make it perfect. Finally, I would also like to thank Minister Eamon Ryan for his incredible work on this bill, which will be his legacy.